Imagine you are driving down a two-lane highway late at night. The highway is lined with pasture fields and fences. It's dark and there are not any other cars around. Suddenly, you see a deer on the left side of the road, and he's standing there as if thinking about darting across. You are silently telling him not to go. Almost like he heard you, he quickly decides to run for it. Now it is your turn to make a decision. Should you try to avoid him? What if you end up in the ditch? Should you hit him while you're trying to stop? What if you do hit him? Do you have car insurance to cover that? I want to talk to you today about car insurance that is required by Kentucky state law and a couple of coverages that are optional. I'm qualified to talk to you about this because I am currently licensed in property and casualty insurance, and I have been selling insurance for the last 5 years. To begin our discussion, let's talk about what auto insurance is required by Kentucky law. According to the Kentucky Department of Insurance, all licensed drivers are required to carry liability insurance as well as personal injury protection, or PIP. There are two components of liability insurance. The first is bodily injury. DMV.org explains that coverage when they state, this coverage pays for the costs related to any injuries or fatalities that you cause as a result of an accident. The second component of liability insurance is property damage. Property damage is defined by DMV.org as coverage for damage to other person's property that you cause. These coverages basically cover your legal liability if you were to cause an accident. They cover the other person. The second part of liability coverage is personal injury protection, or PIP. According to drivekentucky.org, PIP is paid by the insurer of the vehicle in which the insured person is riding in. All auto policies with 4 wheels have PIP, and it covers you, the driver, and any passengers that you have. Motorcycles are excluded from this coverage. PIP coverage is going to cover things such as medical expenses, lost wages, and similar items. Now that we've discussed what coverages are required by law, let's talk about a few optional coverages. The first type of insurance we're going to talk about is collision insurance. According to shelterinsurance.com, collision insurance will cover physical damage to your car when you are involved in an accident, regardless of whose fault it is. The second type of insurance that we're going to talk about is comprehensive insurance. Shelter Insurance states that comprehensive covers physical damage to your vehicle that is caused by things other than an accident. This is commonly referred to as other than collision coverage. And it includes things such as hail, theft, fire, wind, lightning, or striking an animal or person. For both of these coverages, they cover your personal vehicle that you're driving, regardless of whose fault it is. And they also have deductibles. And basically, a deductible means that you're going to be out of pocket whatever your deductible is if you file a claim for that coverage. When the insurance comes in, it will only pay up to the amount of the vehicle. It's not going to pay more than what the vehicle is worth. It is important to know that the deductible applies to each occurrence, not the policy period. So if you have several comprehensive claims in 1 year, hail, hitting deer, fire, theft, your deductible applies to each individual claim. Now that we've talked about the required coverage and a few of the optional coverages, let's look at which coverages would apply to your situation like we talked in the beginning. What would happen if you were to swerve to miss the deer and end up in a ditch? A couple of coverage could apply. If you damage someone else's property, your property damage liability would come in. If you get hurt, your PIP would come in. And if your vehicle is damaged, your collision would apply. What would happen if you hit the deer? Well, once again, if you were hurt, your PIP would cover it, and the damage to your vehicle would now be comprehensive. The difference between the two is for comprehensive coverage to apply, you have to strike the deer first. If you swerve to miss the deer, that is considered collision. In summary, we have talked about the coverages that are required by Kentucky law, and we have discussed 2 of the optional coverages. We have talked about bodily injury, property damage, as well as PIP insurance, or personal injury protection. We have then discussed collision, comprehensive coverages, and how the deductibles apply. On a final note, please remember that the best person to talk to about your insurance needs is your agent, and please remember that the optional coverages are not suitable for everyone. Thank you.